ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing my voice, yeah, it's that time again. It's Tuesday. It's the motherfucking PD Skillz Show. This week, we have got a man who is all over the place, not just wrestling, toy collecting, podcasting, mysteries, and all kinds of other things. The one and only Holden Albright. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you so much for having me. And also, your show is so pretty. I was about to catch up on all the episodes, and then May completely screwed up my whole schedule. But every time you're posting it, I appreciate the cross promotion and the preview videos and the artwork. I see all the work being done, and that's what we were actually talking about earlier, just different motivations without knowing it. It's just seeing you work hard makes me appreciate it more because you're doing more than just pressing record.
Hey, and you know what? And that's something that a lot of the younger guys kind of got me going. I've been doing it since 2004. I'm old bones, even though I'm, I can be found few and far between. But I was like, man, all this shit is available to us. And I didn't have it back then, but that's not an excuse to not use it now. Mm-hmm. Prime age in wrestling seems to go up every year. So why do more now?
Yeah, just keep doing more until you have to do less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And speaking, and I say that a lot of the young guys, and you being one of them, super active on social media. You do a lot of things. Strangely enough, for those listening at home, the first time I met Mr. Holden Albright was at the Death Proof show. They were doing the Josh Alexander training seminar before the show.
Okay.
Never met you before. Didn't know you wrestled. But you were there, and you were another person in the seminar. And Josh Alexander, super great fucking talent. I just watched that Ironman match he had, and it was
so good,
fucking stellar. This is actually the first time on my show I'm talking about wrestling that's happened in the last week. I usually don't. But you know what? That's something I gotta say is awesome fucking match. Obviously, Josh Alexander, hell of a talent. To go into the story here. And obviously we're two different fucking styles. I'm out there, I do a lot more hardcore stuff. Obviously I was an amateur wrestler before, but as it stands, more of a hardcore guy. Had a match that night, but like we were talking about before we went live, we're both people that are there early.
Yes.
Almost like Boxing Day, Black Friday camp out early.
100%.
Yeah, and that was recognized. I'm like, okay, this is one of the guys that was here first, doing the seminar. And then all of a sudden I noticed that Josh Alexander picks you out as his guy. Because I did a training seminar once with Tito Santana, and he obviously he couldn't, it's not unlike Josh, he couldn't do a lot of the work anymore like he used to. So I was basically hey, this is what I'm talking about, you show them guy. I was basically his assistant teacher for the seminar. And then all of a sudden I see, don't get me wrong, Josh Alexander, a fucking beast. Yeah. But he puts you up in this fucking vertical, and he holds you there you owe him money.
Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah, but you just stalled, and but that's a 2-man job, and I'm like, okay. I'm obviously, being a guy that's not normal stature and size of a wrestler, I recognize it when I see it, and I'm like, that's some motherfucking body strength. That's some stall. I'm like, who is this fucking guy? And then all of a sudden you're in wrestling gear, and I'm like, I'm taking in the show, and I'm like, I think you still had the bunny mask. It was before the wolf mask, I believe.
Yep.
And it was just this whole thing, and I don't, not to go fanboy, but I actually went home and the guys that I talked to about wrestling, I'm like, yo, there's this dude, you gotta fucking check him out. He's different, and you don't see that on the indies. A lot of people try to be an indie wrestling darling, and there's not a lot of character where you've got this character, this depth. How did that come up for you? Where did this Holden Albright come?
So because we even I'm sure we're gonna talk about later on about mysteries and stuff of when I grew up, I watched all of the Alien Autopsy revealed, the Fox specials, the Bigfoot stuff, Monster Quest, all of the stuff. But the thing is, looking back, I don't know if I believed it, but I have a whole bunch of knowledge on Gigantopithecus and Loch Ness and just all of these things of like, there's a dinosaur in Africa called the Mokele Mbembe, which I wouldn't be able to pronounce that if I didn't have this useless knowledge.
Hey, dude, as a fucking burnout, I understand the retention of useless fucking information. There's days where people have a question about something stupid, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's this, and they're like, you got to be fucking. Why do you know that? I'm like, I don't know. YouTube.
Dude,
track.
I couldn't start smoking weed until I was closer to 20 because I could talk to the potheads about the Men in Black, like the real Men in Black, all these conspiracy theories that I don't need to do drugs because I'm already at that level. And then when I started doing drugs, it's like it just slowed down my drinking. Luckily, it just evened itself out. But what ended up with that character, especially like, I'm not a horror movie guy at all. I'm more of like a thriller guy. And I picture, because I also used to like true crime and like the first 48 and all this real stuff, because the world's a sketchy place. You can't ignore it. And that's why like even my character, some people might think it's like horror movie inspired or whatever. It's like, no, in my mind, because every time
it's deeper than that. Like, because I see, you know, the tapes. That's not like, well, do you know what horror movie? The tapes and the notes and the way that it's organized, that's fucking serial killer shit. That's not horror movie.
So I'm inspired by actual like Bud Dower shooting himself during his press conference. There was the stalker that sent a pipe bomb to Bjork, and there's like a long ass videotape of him shaving his head in the washroom, putting red face paint on, and then shooting himself in the head. And like the tape was found in the video camera when they went to investigate the pipe bomb. Luckily, Bjork didn't die, but I don't even know who Bjork is besides she wore a swan costume or a dress to an award show. But I pictured those are all my inspirations. So when I bring up the promos and there's case numbers and stuff, which the obvious Easter egg is it's the promotion and the date of the show. And that's the way of like, when you cut a promo, make sure you say the date of the show and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's technically at the beginning. I don't even have to say a word. But in my mind, there's a police evidence locker somewhere that has all of these tapes because it's literally inspired by like the Son of Sam, the BTK killer, the Zodiac killer. It's not inspired by monsters, but I started doing my podcast, This is Brendan, because I was afraid I would Heath Ledger myself if I got too deep into this character.
Yeah, you got it. You have to. Exactly. I mean, not everybody's gimmick is as easy to method act as mine. And I mean, when because you get into it and like there's a seriousness to it and the words. And one of the things I actually like is like, you're not a deep voice guy.
I wish I was. I'm hoping. I heard someone's voice got deeper later on. I'm hoping for 40.
Yeah, I got a face for radio and a voice for the deaf. So like, I'm in a hard spot. But like the way you word things and in your tone of voice, like it's believable. It's not like we just got this guy, he's scary, let's make him say scary things. Because I always tell people when you walk into a bar, it's the guy, it's never the guy you think of that you should be scared of. No. And that's what Holden Albright makes me think of.
100%, especially like I started for my motives and stuff for wrestling, even thinking like, okay, the results are predetermined, but going into this match, even if it's not for a championship, what am I fighting for? Okay, in my mind, whoever wins this match gets higher up on the rankings so they get championship opportunities so that their pay increases. And so I'm not saying we're fighting for a purse like we're boxers, but I'm saying we're fighting so that our ranking
be a lot cooler if we were.
There's a brawl for all in Ontario. Like, I don't know if I'm one of the first rounds of going in there. I'll see if I have the weekend off and then be done.
Whoa. Back it up. There's a what?
If there was a brawl for all in Ontario.
I thought you said it. I didn't hear you say if. I thought you said there's a brawl. I'm like, no. I'm coming for money.
I was going to say, like, I think that would be hilarious. I have booking plans for different shows. A brawl for all is not one of them. Doesn't mean it won't be, but it's not on the docket. And
I laughed because you know all the like the Rex and Pretty Ricky thing, obviously. So when that was happening, I laughed because like I said something to Rex about it, where I was like, when Ricky said he was going to bring the heat to his door, I'm like, you literally went on your podcast and out of boredom was like, if anybody from Ontario wants to fight me, come over and I'll beat them up. And I was like, man, I love Rex, but I almost want to take him up on that. Like
just to test yourself.
I almost felt like I needed to defend Letterkenny. Like no.
but like for my character, it then started becoming, because like when you said, and a lot of people are focused on like indie darling stuff, they're more so focused on just having really good matches, but then they don't develop their character. And half of it is they're focused on the in-ring work, but the other half is, up until 3 years ago, your goal is to get signed by the WWE. And if you go there, they're going to change your name. They're going to give you a whole new character. So what was the point of even developing a character on the indie scene? But for me, once I started changing my mindset to, I need to win matches so that I can make more money, it then started becoming, wait a minute, because there's an early promo I did maybe like a year into wrestling, not this character at all. And I said, Holden Albright wants to be remembered through victories and championships. Fast forward 3 years later, it's, I want to be remembered, but it's not victories and championships. It's in the scars and the broken bones I leave with my victim. It's the nightmares they end up with. And that's me saying, that doesn't mean I'm going to win the match. It just means I'm going to hurt my opponent. And my wrestling style now, I explain it as, it's the Homer Simpson gene. I'll take 210 strikes. I don't know if you could take 200 of mine. And that's why like my matches always seem very much like a war, that, I want you to hit me as hard as you can so that I can stand up there and then hit you as hard and see who's the last one standing.
I find in my matches, I usually take probably about a good 70%.
It's fun to be on the cell. It's fun to be on the cell.
I honestly, because I think the cell's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
I like being on the cell. I like being the heel. It's, you know, some people might think it's easier, but it's actually a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
And some people don't get that. Like, I've wrestled younger guys. I personally think that until somebody's comfortable in the ring, they shouldn't even work heel.
Yeah.
Because you can get over by being a good wrestler as a face, but like to be a heel, that's extra work on top of it.
Yeah.
Like if you don't do any character work and you're a heel, it's because you suck at wrestling, and that's why they're bullying you. And that's something I think is great. So I mean, you saying that's just your style, like the Homer Simpson thing, taking it, but you telling a story in that damage you're taking, and like just like you said it, like, I'm going to take 200 years, but can you take 200 of mine? And I think that's great. That's the great style. The great way to put it is the Homer Simpson style. But the only difference is you can move. You're not looking for just that one punch. You've got some fucking moves in there. So I wouldn't say full Homer Simpson. Never go full Homer.
The strong head, but then I happen to be slightly, I don't even know. I think I played soccer a lot when I was a kid, but like, I don't understand, because there's some things that I can kind of do that I'm just like, I've never trimmed down to like the best shape ever. And I've never gone like 110%, like especially going to like a trampoline park or a gymnastics gym, of like, I think there is stuff that can be unlocked in me. And that's what's like
100%
scary and exciting for the future.
I 100% relate to you on that. Even being a little bit older, I've never seen myself at 100%. I've never given that 100% to get that.
And especially during this pandemic, though, it's given a lot of people time to rest, and like they then realize, oh, wait a minute, I walked to the left. I need to go see a chiropractor to pop something. And it's how many people though are going to come out of this and they think that they're at 100%. I'm already sure, like I've been thinking about it, where no matter what, those first shows when Ontario wrestling comes back are not going to be the best, because this off season, everyone's restarting training basically.
I don't know, like, cause there's some people where it's fucking muscle memory, man.
I'm talking about their gas tanks. Like, people are gonna be blowing up.
Oh, well, fuck.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I've blown up in every single motherfucking match I've had in my life. Like, whatever.
I'm weird. I'm like Festus out there. The bell rings and I just go, and then later on, like maybe 5-10 minutes after the match, that's where the adrenaline dump comes in.
Well, I'll feel it during the match, and then I hit that spot where you're past the blow up. Once I get past the blow up, I'm like, now we're ready to rock. Like when I did one time I did for Scully a fucking 2 shows in one day, because he was running 2 promotions, and British Brawler was my opponent for the second one, and he's like he looks at me, and I'll be like, I mean, fucking, I know where he's going. He's like, you sure you're gonna be able to do 2 today, mate? And I'm like, whoa. And I look and I go, oh yeah, man, I'm just gonna do a little and I'll be good to go. And he's like, what? I'm like, no, I'm just fucking with you.
I'm just gonna have half a pack of cigarettes before our match.
Yeah, and I did. Actually, but I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. Actually, it's 2 years this month since I've had a cigarette.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I quit just after you were at the show I blew my shoulder out on.
That was in Wingham, right?
Yeah.
So I remember before you brought up the Josh seminar, the first time I got to actually interact with you, which means AKA us smoking weed outside the venue, was at the Wingham show. And that's where, because also I saw your name pop up, but because Darcy's name was PD.
Yeah, that's been a forever thing.
So I thought you guys were the same person, but I'm just like, okay. And then when I finally like met you, I was like, okay, so that's... And then because I've seen like your shoot name that I'm like, oh, okay, not the same person. And then just enjoyed it. And like, what's funny about that is like, I'm pretty sure you even brought up, it's like, I think someone else got yelled at for smoking. It's like, but like, we're half the show. What's going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't fucking worry about that shit. I was laughing actually. Wade Allen had asked me like, "What makes you like the weed guy?" I'm like, "Well, there used to be a lot of stuff on camera, but like these days, like you just know if you see me in the parking lot. You go on the show and you're like, hey, that guy that was outside getting high, he's a wrestler."
Oh man, that's what's funny is, so on my Patreon I do a weekly show with Kobe Durst, and one of the fans from London at Crossbody, he has smoked with Kobe during a show. And what's funny is we started doing these Zoom call-in specials, and Kobe didn't remember, and then when he started describing it, Kobe's just like I don't remember it, but I definitely, that sounds like me. And then right after we stopped recording, he just went, oh fuck, I completely remember him. And it's like, oh, I remember Gimpy. Which is his shoot nickname. He has a tattoo that says, hello, my name is Gimpy. I think it's like a Stockholm syndrome. I think he got bullied as a kid and he thought it was a term of endearment, or he's trying to reclaim the word. I don't
reclaim the word I like.
I don't know, but like, he's a great fucking dude. Shout out Jason Mitchell.
Yeah, that Wingham show, that's when I hurt my shoulder. It was bad. It's still bad, actually. I just got my brace a couple days ago.
You got it, or got it like you don't have to?
No, got a brace, like, because I'm gonna start working again. Like, I've worked since the injury.
Yeah,
and I was fine, but like I was nervous.
Okay.
Yeah, like you wrestled hurt before. You know what that's like.
Yeah, I wrestled with a broken hand that I didn't know was broken yet, and yeah, it took me 10 days to go, oh, the swelling didn't go down.
Fuck, 10 days.
Dude, I had
what did you think was wrong with it?
So I'm at training. I throw a clothesline. Wade Allen, who you actually brought up, he's supposed to duck the clothesline. He decides to do a front roll. So I just punched the sole of his boot. And I hear a pop. I thought I dislocated or sprained it. I'm like, whatever. I tape it up. I continue training. I go to work the next day, and then I had a week off. So it's like Thursday night it happens. I go to work Friday morning, and I had a week off work, and the transmission in my van failed. So, but on Saturday, Sunday, I wrestled 3 matches without it. So I wrestled Wheeler at Crossbody for like a 25-minute main event, and then I wrestled Space Pirates and another team. No, it was me and Terrell Kenneth facing the Space Pirates, Shane Saber and Space Monkey at Alpha One in Oshawa. And then a team canceled at Smash, so it became me and John Greed versus Shane Saber and someone else, and then 2 more people in a crazy 3-way super indie match that in the same day with the broken hand. And then I had Monday, Tuesday off. Spent that whole week just like chilling at home. I went to the movies with my friends. Tuesdays when the transmission failed, and then I just go to the walk-in because I go back to work on Monday. I'm like, oh, my hand's still a little weird. I can't really do my job. And then I go to a walk-in clinic. They send me to the x-ray. I take the x-ray. I go to sleep because I work like 2 to 10 a.m. Yeah. I go to sleep, and I wake up to 6 missed calls from the hospital telling me, hey, your hand's broken. Come in. I texted Shane Saber, Alexia Nicole, and Gabriel Fuerza because that's our movie night. And I was like, hey, I just found out my hand's broken. And they're like, oh, are you going to bail? I'm like, nah, I'll be there in 2 hours. See you soon. I don't care about the hand. And then I did that, and then I got drunk at the movies, and it was a great time. Yeah. No, actually, the names you just brought up, because that seems to be your gang. Like you've got you seem to have a circle of collaborative minds that work very well together. How did you guys all come together? So I I'm like a weird disease for pro wrestling. Because I've been trained by so many people, I called myself the cockroach of Ontario. And then it became what's it called? I knew getting into wrestling, I was going to drive to shows. I listened to the podcast. I watched all the documentaries. I knew that. So when I started, Space Monkey was starting like wrestling when I'm starting training, and I'm riding with him to shows, and we're setting up rings all over the place.
Yeah.
And then I get my green light, and I'm doing this all by myself. I'm traveling with like more veteran guys. And then I started my Riot Maker stuff where Mark Wheeler, Stratosphere, Jody Threat, we're all traveling all the time. We all had the same mindset. And then Gabriel Fuerza and Alexia Nicole started wrestling at Crossbody more regularly. So we carpooled, and that's when we became friends.
Okay.
And then also, I take pride in the fact that all of my friends that start traveling with me, every year they wrestle on more shows, or they at least go to more shows. Because even if I wrestle on a shit ton of shows, there's still 15 to 25 that I showed up to help set up or watch wrestling because I love it. I don't want to be home. And it's just if you message me on a weekend before the pandemic and it's like, what shows are happening this weekend? You probably could have hopped in my car to go somewhere.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? And that's awesome. That's awesome to have. Like, I live in Windsor. I find myself a little separated from most people.
Oh, just a little?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're more Michigan than Canada at that point.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? I barely wrestled in Michigan. Like, I did XICW for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. I was traveling over there with Bill Scullion for a while doing shows. And then something happened, I think, with him and the promoter. And I mean, I guess that was a package deal.
Yeah. Have you tried to reach out to like the Monroes?
Oh yeah. I've talked to Malcolm, and he's actually his main concern was the border, because quite a few people have gotten turned back rather. The Detroit border is a son of a bitch.
Like, yeah, that Detroit Windsor. You got to go up to like that Sarnia port or wherever it is.
Yeah, it's brutal. No, it's brutal. And like I told him, I was like, just book me, man. Like, if you book me for something hardcore, like, I just got to buy wrist tape when I get there. I'm like, I crossed the border. Where you going? A wrestling show. They're not going to look at me and be like,
you look like a wrestling fan.
Yeah, this guy's a wrestler. No, I'm going to have my golf shirt on and be like, I'm going to a wrestling show.
I'm going to go watch the Tigers or the Lions.
No, because I don't want that, because I got this like weird like thing where I'm like,
do not lie at the border. Do not lie.
No,
that was a hypothetical.
I don't.
I'm talking to the audience at this point of just that was hypothetical. I've never lied at the border.
I actually tell them, like, I usually tell them I'm going to a wrestling show, and like, they don't ask me if I'm wrestling.
See, I always bring that paperwork that says like the entertainment thing where we're allowed as amateur athletes to go there, but not. I've never been turned around. I should have been multiple times, but I haven't.
Wait, hold on. The thing for amateur athletes?
Yeah, so because Americans,
you younger guys are smarter, so like, explain this to me.
So there is a sheet of paper, and I can actually send it to you, that I was shown by my trainer, Ashley Six, and and Scott Demore tells this story in his seminars too, that he was going over to a show just to see some of the border city guys. And the guy at the border is like, are you going there? And even like Scott, while telling the story, says, I don't want to go to this fucking show. If you turn me around, I can finish watching the hockey game. But then the border security says, we pulled in a few wrestlers that are going to a show, and we don't know if like they're lying to us or not being forthcoming. And that car, that I can assume who it was based on the time period, but I don't know for sure. They got turned around, but they didn't get flagged or anything. They just got turned around.
Yeah.
And Demore even told the border guard what papers to tell them to have. And it's a weird visa thing that as long as we're not being paid, our expenses can be covered. But like, that's why wrestlers are going to Chicago. Wrestlers are going there frequently. They could turn us around, but they shouldn't be able to flag you as long as you present this and you're not lying, where you're like, I'm going to a wrestling show. And if they're like, are you performing on this? And you say no, and they Google it and your fucking face is on the poster.
Yeah.
Versus, are you wrestling on it? Yeah. Are you being paid? No. Or I'm being paid $20 for gas. but that doesn't even cover gas. I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm trying to get experience to get exposure, but I should have been turned around at the border because you brought up the bunny mask. Yeah, that bunny mask plus handcuffs, a real knife that I said was fake, razor blades and Advil in your luggage, kind of, and with a fucked up Road Warrior haircut makes you look suspicious as hell. But you got to play it real dumb. You got to bring up the fact you failed grade 10 math 3 times.
Actually, funny story, because you had mentioned Ashley Six. So last time I fucking seen him was at the Gathering of the Juggalos.
Dude, Gathering is one of my bucket list places I want to wrestle.
All right, so well, actually, I can get into it. I think I touched base on another show, so I'll make it quick. But yeah, I crossed for the Gathering when I was doing rap music, and we were performing on the rap side, but obviously the wrestler and me packed my bag.
Yep. You're drifting over there, like,
and 6 of us or 7 of us, whatever it was, we go over the border in this minivan packed up to the fucking titties with fucking food and shit. Can't fit one of those big ass bags on the top.
Oh my God.
He goes, where are you guys going? We go, music festival. He's like, have a good time. That was it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And yeah, I went there and I actually ran into Ashley Six because I think him, Chambers, Elgin, a few people were there. And I mean, outside of performing, well, including performing, I was fucked up all weekend, and I decided to get ballsy.
Yeah, you said the juggler.
Yeah, and I decided to get ballsy because because we were because we had like our band passes, we could camp in the area that was all the staff stuff.
Okay.
And I'm like, shit, we're camping right behind the fucking pseudo locker room. I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'd went early in the day to the JCW tryout show. There are like, and then their oddball wrestling stuff, and did the little tryout. Only got outdid by the dude that literally dove off the fucking like top of the rafters. Like, he climbed all the way up. It's in their documentary. He fucking dove. I think his name was Shit Stain. If you look up Gathering the Juggalo Shit Stain, you're definitely gonna see his dive. And and I think they put him in like the Rumble or something later that night. But yeah, I ended up on the show in the strap match as like just as a fucking lumberjack. Like, it was a lumberjack strap match. So basically, they were like, "Oh, I remember you from the tryout," because I was all fucked up and wandered into the locker room. I'm like, "Oh, hey." I'm like, "Hey, Kevin Nash," as he's telling Scott D'Amore, he's like, because I mean, Nash is a funny fucking guy, but he's like, I overheard him say to Scott, he's like, "Hey, like, so am I doing a good job, like talking to people and being nice and shit, like just being a smart ass?" And I'm like,
yeah,
fuck it. Okay, I need to get like, I'm not equipped for these conversations right now. So, we're over to a couple of the hardcore guys, obviously, and then fucking corporate recognizes me from earlier. He's like, "Yo, you wanted to like be a lumberjack?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You got a belt?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's fucking do it." I was
they didn't equip you with a belt. They asked if you had one.
Obviously. Whoop whoop. But I wake up the next morning, hungover as shit, don't know where my fucking belt is. So I'm fucking holding my drawers up, looking around. I walk over to the wrestling ring, so it's literally like 40 feet away. I could have went there. Like, they did flashlight wrestling in the middle of the night where it's dark and literally the only thing you have is people's flashlights to see. So I walk over there like just when the sun's coming up, and I'm like all fucked up. I'm like, "There's my belt." I'm like, "What happened to it?" Like, because it looks like a dog chewed it for like an hour. And I finally get to see the video, and obviously, like, while I'm on the outside being a lumberjack, like I'm trying to sell it, I'm like hitting the strap on the metal steps, like, "Yeah, you go get this today."
Oh my God.
And then there's video from later on in that night with me and Shaggy being absolute degenerates, and I'm obliterated. Like, my behavior is embarrassing. Like I look back on it sometimes like, wow, you really thought you was a gangster back then, man.
I don't get like the gangster stuff, but like there's Facebook posts where I'm just like, "You're a bitch." Like the Facebook memories pop up.
Yeah.
And just like critiquing younger version of yourself.
Yeah, no, I do that all the time where I'm like, wow, like what? It's just the phases you go through, right?
These people are pieces of shit. Delete this memory so I don't have to see it in the future.
Oh no, I some I mean ones that irritate me that I can't do nothing about, but the ones that I need to be reminded of every once a year, I'm like, no, leave it. It hurts today, but there's another 364 days. You're okay, man.
Dude, I used fucking Facebook. Like it was MSN Messenger status updates. Every now and then there would be like these posts that are like, going out, gonna be away from my computer at 6:15, 7:20 p.m. Okay, I'm back, whatever. And like, what the fuck was I doing with my
Well,
Facebook?
was it back when it was like the whole like all it was is like is blah 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 blah
Yes,
blah?
yes.
Yeah, I get some good ones like because I'm like my stat because it just comes up and it was like is in your bathroom behind the curtain. I'm like oh, I'm like I must have found it like, curious that they just always wanted to know what you're doing.
There's a I'm lucky for most of my videos aren't too embarrassing of myself, but I recorded a lot of my friends. Like even I just had a memory come up yesterday where one of my friends is completely obliterated, and apparently we found a new name for when you're just obliterated, which was JC drunk. And he's just like assaulting people but not well, so like he's doing like a waist log and pulling them onto a bed, but like he would do it to someone really big or someone that just he can't lock his arms on, and like it got to a point where he's just giggling because of everything that he's done. It's just like I'm so glad, because there's one of me on my maybe 21st birthday.
Yeah.
I'm stuck between a dresser and like or the desk at a hotel, and I'm totally fucked up. And a girl commented on it, it's like, I love how you're so drunk, Brendan, but you were still able to say your website name properly. Because I was plugging my podcast
Yeah, plugs,
back 10 years
plugs.
ago.
I'm a fucking professional.
I'm like, vote in the poll if you think I'm too drunk to be alive right now. GTAwire.com.
If you're too drunk for plugs, you're too drunk for public.
Yeah, dude, that was the first time I ever blacked out, and it was Jamaican rum. I remember we were gonna go to a club, but like we got to the parking lot, and my last actual memory was I needed to pee, and there was a picket fence in this fucking hotel parking lot, and I was like half being yelled at, "Don't pee in case you get arrested." I'm like, I just need to piss, and then I woke up the next morning.
Huh. Not arrested, at least.
No, in the hotel room. I think I was still wearing my suit from the night before, but like I remember I peed, and then that was it.
Fuck.
The first time I blacked out, though.
I don't have too many blackout ones. Like I'll like forget small things like where I left my belt, but I usually have a pretty good idea where I put my head down at night.
I realized I was like, oh, I might be, because I half joke saying I was like 2 weeks away from being an alcoholic, but like literally there was one time that I was at least buzzed 15 days in a row. It would have been 16 if I wasn't tired and I forgot. I asked people like how many times have they blacked out, and they say like 2 or 3. I go, oh, I blacked out 4 times in 1 month once, and it's just like, I might have a problem. And now luckily because I wrestled,
you basically looked at him and were like, yo, those are rookie numbers, you got to bring those up.
Yeah, there's a Kyle Kinane has a great joke that says whenever you have someone that's worse at something than you are, like they drink more than you or they're more of a degenerate than you, you never think you're the worst, but then you don't realize that your friends, you're that version for them because they don't know that person worse than you. And it's just like, that's when it fucks you
up.
They
don't know it's them.
Yeah, it's just
no one knows who it is.
I'm not as bad as Billy, and then all these other people are like, I'm not as bad as Brendan. I luckily never got into fights. I was a fun drunk, like some of my other friends. Too many fights.
You know what? I've gotten in a few, obviously, but I've never been a fight picker. I've never went looking for them.
Yes.
No matter, and like my friends will attest, no matter how hammered I am, I'm always that guy that's somewhere in the back corner doing one of these, just making sure everybody's having a good fucking time.
I'm the exact same way. I'll diffuse things, and then the one time like I've been jumped, I somehow got jumped by 5 guys, and I somehow stole their cell phone because I took down one of them, and I just got a new phone, and like my previous phone was so fucked up, I needed to put the charger I needed to put the phone against the wall, and when the charger went in, I had to put a brick on one of the sides of it, like an actual brick, to hold the charger in place for it to charge. So I just got a new phone, and then this dude in Tim Hortons is talking shit with this girl that we're with. It's like 6 of us. It's like my 23rd birthday or my 22nd birthday, and then literally this one dude like tries to start shit. And I'm a big enough guy that if I just stand up and like I put my shoulder in front of you, it's like, hey, calm down, whatever. Yeah. And this dude pushed me to where I turned around, he swung, I gave him a double leg, I protected myself, saw the phone fall, thought it was my phone, grabbed it, put it in my pocket, left the side of my face open. Someone fucking Randy Orton punned the side of my face, but I was still like, yeah, my face got all fucked up. And then here's how sketchy. I'm not a degenerate, but I'm not completely clean. That when the staff at this Tim Hortons at 3 a.m. is like, get out of here, we're calling the cops, I was like, we need to scatter. Not I am the victim here. So I ran away. I ran away when all the shitheads ran away. And then 3 of them were left behind. And then they tried to ask me for my wallet or something, to which like I already spent all my money. And one of them like went to go towards me, but like I went to push him and I twisted my ankle like on some fucking rocks or some shit, but I took him down. One of my buddies saw them jumping me, and then when the ambulance came, my friend couldn't come with me, but I definitely cock blocked this paramedic that was just like being real cheesy. That my face is fucked up, and I just see this paramedic saying a joke trying to hit on this cute female, and I'm just looking up and I go, yeah, that was a funny joke when I heard it in the 2nd grade. And I'm also in like a 3-piece silver suit also when this is happening. But then I woke up the next morning, IV in my arm, no hangover. The most I've ever drank, no hangover. Just get an IV in your arm.
Yeah, that's a nursing trick. I know some nurses out there that like party together. Like they'll get a hotel room, party together, they'll go back to the room and IV up before bed.
Yo, that's smart shit though. That's smart shit.
It's fucking next level. I'm like, that's professional partying.
Pro partiers.
Yeah. Now, I did say I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on the mystery stuff. What would you say are like some of your like go-to, if people were looking to get into the mystery side of life, go-to material? Like,
so I'm always like, I'll go back to it every now and then just because it's cheesy, but Mystery Hunters used to be a show on YTV.
Yeah,
it's just like,
I remember that.
It was a fun little show, and I'll go back to it every now and then because like a bunch of it's on YouTube. But like personally for me, I loved unsolved mysteries when I was a kid. I even say like, when other people say they were born 2 decades too late because they like the Beatles or whatever, I say I wish I was born earlier because I could just go to like Wyoming, say I have amnesia and I don't know who I am because I'm a white dude. I can fit into Wyoming. I can fit into Wisconsin. Give me Minnesota. I'll fit in. I'm white. Now I'm getting all these fucking tattoos. I have the Canadian flag and the Italian flag on me. It's like, maybe not so much, but like,
no, now you're identifiable.
I'm always, I think my favorite one, and I actually just watched the original first season of Unsolved Mysteries on it, but I always go back to DB Cooper. I like thrillers and like con men kind of stuff, and like the fact that this dude hijacked a plane and kind of got away with it, and it's still like in the air, but also at the same time, I'm a fan of some fucked up videos. If someone's gonna get beheaded or if someone's getting electrocuted, I'm a little fan of Live Leak. It's a shame bestgore.com got taken down, but I like real stuff like that, and then just like little mysteries. But I'm starting to become more and more afraid of the government. So like these conspiracies are starting. I don't know if I'm becoming.
I'm not afraid
aware
of them from a conspiracy standpoint. I'm one of those people who is 100% willing to accept this. They're stupid.
Well, I even like recently just realized, because I shared something that was like, someone's doing what you want to do that's less qualified than you. And then I just took that into before, when people said, oh, we want someone new that's in the job, but with 20 years of experience. Like, even if you go to school for political science, once you become a politician, you don't know anything. No one is qualified for their job until they're like 5-10 years in. And then even then, like the Doug Ford situation right now, he got lucky during the first half of the pandemic, slid by, and then dropped the ball real hard.
Yeah.
We're in year 2 of this pandemic.
It's fucked up. Now that things are starting to get crowds on the other side of the border, I'm getting angry.
Dude, literally, when the pre-show happened for Double or Nothing, I had this weird, like, I didn't cry, but I had this like a jubilation
I
moment.
know.
And it was just like, it's so close, but then it's that sadness, it's that happiness and sadness of not for us, but it's so fucking close. Seeing people on that Dynamite before, I think Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky ran through the crowd, and seeing like human contact. I haven't gone clubbing in 5 years. Clubbing is the most like non-COVID safety. You're grinding with random people, you're sweating, you're swapping whatever. I want to go clubbing because it's so anti-fucking pandemic.
It's like, I don't even like clubbing, but
no, I don't know any of this fucking music. I'm very confused.
And I'm gonna take the bus there, lick the fucking seat.
Wow. I like how you said the bus and then the seat, so it's like a Greyhound bus versus like a regular bus and then like the handle or some shit.
No. That's it. That's although that's something I've been known to say is I just want to lick door handles and like, you know, all that stuff again.
Are you a Kenny versus Spenny guy?
You know what? I am like, I like some of the episodes, but like they're a little too much for me sometimes. They got some funny shit, but I don't know, they're just too much for me. Their disharmony with each other turns me off from it.
Okay, well, that's understandable though.
Like, I like Jackass where they're mean to each other, but they hug at the end. They're assholes to each other and like they hold a grudge all day. I'm like, can we have a happy fucking ending once in a while, fucking boys?
Especially on Jackass, normally the person that's getting fucked up, it was their idea. It's very much like wrestling of whoever brings in that weapon is going to take that weapon. And versus where it's Kenny versus Spenny, it's I'm going to fuck up your day. I'm going to make
but like my favorite one from Jackass of all times, I don't know why, it just gets me every time, is the big fucking hand that comes around the fucking hallway and just floors people. They didn't sign up for that one, but it was great.
I got a funny Jackass story for the fact of, I brought up before we went on the air that I'll get to a show early and I will read a book or watch like case studies. And there was one time in the Barry Wrestling locker room, I'm watching stuff and Josh Alexander's on the show, and like he peeks over at my laptop and he sees that I'm actually watching Jackass because I just bought like a DVD set of it. And he's like, because before I was watching Eddie Kingston tapes and I just switched out the DVD, and he just goes, "You're watching Jack?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm studying tape. You've wrestled me. You've seen me wrestle. Makes sense, right?" And he just shakes his head. Like, it does make sense, but it's just like, don't be aware of this.
Fuck. No, what's like you say like that's your normal thing. You show up early, you do the reading and all that. Have you found yourself like, because I mean, you've put on a lot of miles in a short amount of time. Have you found yourself early at these shows kind of starting to give what you've learned back to others?
Oh, 100%. Because like, I even I've talked to like some younger guys. Every time I break stuff down, I never really explain. I'm one of the few people, I never want to be a trainer. I feel like if you become a trainer later on, it's your way of like not taking advantage of the business, but trying to get money back out, instead of like, I'm not keeping track of the money I spent or time, quote unquote, wasted in wrestling, because it's been so fun and exciting that I'm glad I did that versus anything else. And so with younger guys, I'll even tell them some stuff. I'm like, people only think I'm halfway decent because of this. So, oh, well, here's a cheat code. Here's how to make this look better. Here, and I'll explain it as cheat codes instead of like, you need to grind this out. Because at the end of the day, don't we all want to put on a good match? And then don't we all want to put on a good show? Because
I want everybody to have a good match.
We should all be fans of wrestling. That the fans that come see us, we shouldn't care that one match just because that's someone you don't like in it, or someone younger being like, well, I hope they shit the bed. Because it's like, no, you should hope everyone's good and then use that to like fuel you and whatever. And it's just like, it's weird. I got lucky, and I realize I got lucky because I see that not everyone had the ability to learn from so many people that I learned from. Like, I'm in the car. I was rarely ever in the car with anyone as experienced as I was. I was always the least experienced person. And I even talked to Kobe Durst about this, where we didn't get the chance to think we were the best because there was a Josh Alexander in the car, there was an Ethan Page, there was a Brent Banks, a John Greed, that like no matter what, we weren't the best in the car, let alone the best wrestler. Where it's when other guys, especially like younger guys, you're good, but like you're all just equal level, that you don't realize like once you get out of that bubble, oh, not everyone sees this, or you do all of your stuff in one area and expect the whole province to know what you're doing, where it's out of sight, out of mind. You need to go and meet people, you need to shake hands and set up rings. But I just see like the miles spent and stuff. I now see younger guys and I get to tell them like, hey, if you set up rings and you constantly show up, that's how I got all my opportunities.
Yeah.
Versus just telling people, oh, show up to shows early, but never doing it yourself. I more so show by doing instead of telling. And then when younger guys are in there, especially, I'm very much, I need to wrestle you and be in the ring with you to like really show you and like fuck around and have that. I can't like really, I can't teach, I can't tell you to do this. I can feel it and call a match with you. And so it's like, yeah, I get back to the young guys. And especially what we've realized in the last year and a half, a lot of the people that have been around for a while are shitheads. So if you become friends with younger guys that are like a Safety Travis is 20 years old. If he does something dumb, he'll have people like myself and other people be like, yo, Travis, you're a fucking idiot. Calm down. And he'd be like, okay, I'm sorry. But when the Safety Travises of 13 years ago are a shithead then, and then a shithead in 2011, and a shithead in 2014, and then a shithead in 2019, and they think that those aren't going to pay off for them to be like, I got away with it for so long. Yeah, you got away with it for so long. Guess what? We don't need you around anymore. You can go fuck off.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of that worded, and like you've mentioned a few of the people, and I've kind of seen that stand on social media where there are some people who have been in the game for a long time and
all over wrestling, not just on TV.
But obviously, I mean, not even just wrestling. I mean, this exists in every facet of life. But I have noticed that like that trend is happening where people are finally starting to say, you know what, there's enough of us now that your shit's not required.
I just hope, because we're in a pandemic right now, there are no announced show dates. Like people are planning like studio stuff or outdoor stuff, but there is no, hey, buy tickets for this show that will happen on this date. And there's a lot of talk that happens, and I've seen it in wrestling of, oh, I didn't shake his hand, that's how he knows I don't like him. And the person who he didn't shake hands with doesn't realize he didn't shake his hand because it doesn't fucking matter. It's real easy behind a keyboard, but then, because I will honestly say, because I'm very open about stuff, I've told promoters that there are a couple people I won't be on the same shows with. Because I don't want a fan, if they see Holden Albright and PD Skillz on a poster, that they want to come and support us. They like us. And they see this other person on a show. I'm sorry. I'm a good enough person, a little bit of a delinquent, but a good enough person that I will say that supporting me doesn't mean you have to support this person. And then a lot of people, though, when they're only booked at so many places, they're afraid to lose that instead of...
they'll do anything.
I'd rather fucking wake up with a clean conscience. And guess what? If I lose a booking at a promotion or two, I don't care, because I'm not telling you to unbook that person. I'm saying I won't take the booking if they're there. And I've talked to people, they've understood it. There's some promotions that they even already took steps ahead of that I was like, oh, I didn't even have to bring it up. Cool. And after the pandemic happens, let's see how much is talked, because a lot of people in 2020 that said this was going to be my year also said that for the 6 years previous, and in 2019 they wrestled 2 matches. So I was the same way in 2019. I can even
I get it. I've had that happen. I mean, sometimes by laziness, sometimes by fucking injury, sometimes by fucking pandemic. But I mean,
but you try.
I mean, 2025 is gonna be dope though.
Dude, I can't wait for 2030. I think I'm retired from wrestling, might be dead. Good times.
Well, you started with retired from wrestling. Nobody actually does that, so that's not a thing.
No, I just will be so.
You'll be
busy,
less active.
But
you'll be less active.
I unfortunately, so bringing back Josh again, on a car ride once, he just looked over at me and he went like, because he compared me to someone else, where someone else is going to be happy with their goal was one promotion. That's what they're going to do for the rest of their time. And he looked at me and he just went, Brendon, you're a lifer. And I went, huh? He's like, yeah, you're just probably going to do this forever. I'm like, okay. And I'm one of the people that, good or bad, if you tell me I'm something, I'll believe it. Like, especially before, just because of life and stuff, I thought I was a piece of shit. And then I realized, like, oh no, I'm actually pretty good. I was just treated like shit by a lot of people in my life. And then it's those moments of someone telling me, like, I didn't think I was a good wrestler until good wrestlers told me I was good. And then I saw how many matches I had. I went, well, if I'm bad, I wouldn't have been booked this much.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. No, like that's as I said. Like I said earlier, right from the first show, like I came back home and there's a few guys that I watch wrestling with at home, and they've come to shows with me too, where I'm like, you got to watch this guy. He's dope. He's new. He's dope. I mean, no one's perfect. Like no one's perfect, because it was a lot of your like earlier stuff too, where like, because I'd see you at shows where I thought you were dope, but what was available to me was previous to that.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, like this is still good, but now seeing him like how he is now, it's a big change. Like, because I saw the camel pant phase, like when you guys
Riot Makers.
Riot Makers. That's the game you were talking about that earlier. And I'd seen that progression, and then just the different, and then all of a sudden, you started introducing this more solo persona, and it's great.
What's so funny though is there's so much stuff I'm doing now that I was told not to do.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where it's like, A, maybe at that time it wasn't right to do, but B, I'm like, I'm not as dumb as I think I am, and people treat me as. It's that validation. A lot of the pandemic has been like validating and stuff, like seeing people start podcasts, but like do it because they want attention versus someone like yourself, like going balls deep into it. It's like, I'm going to get cool overlays. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it in work. And not a lot of people do the work by showing it and not bragging about it. And then your ratings for wrestling podcasts in Canada, you didn't say it like I'm the shit kind of way. It was a very much, oh guys, look what happened. That's fucking dope.
It wasn't even a goal. I didn't even know it existed.
Yes.
The way I actually found out was I was like, okay, like I'm on Podbean, plugs for Podbean. That's where I put my shit up and distribute it all. I go on there and I'm like, oh, so when I sign up for this, it also distributes this. I'm like, well, where the hell am I? And like I clicked on it and I seen it and I was like, no, like this has to be a mistake, right? So like I go to my kid's tablet because it's not attached to anything that's mine. I'm like, are they just fluffing me to get me ad revenue?
And good theory.
Yeah. So I go to another tablet and I'm like, oh, this, and then all of a sudden I get an email and they're like, congratulations and blah, blah, blah. Like they gave me like an email when I did talk like under 30 or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, okay, maybe this thing is legit. Like, it's surreal to me. Like, and I kind of get upset that it's Apple because I'm not an Apple guy. So I'm like, man.
Yeah, but
I mean, hey, to anybody listening on Apple, I fucking appreciate it. Like, I fucking make a man blush.
But like that's all like the exciting shit of like we talked about motivations and stuff of like when you see people working hard, like it makes me want to work harder, especially like I think there was a point in time when I was like 13 that I could have pursued art. I could have got really into it, and I didn't. I think I went more towards writing and less like drawing. And then when I see these people, because there's fans and then friends of mine that are like really good artists, and they'll just like doodle something. They're like, I did this to warm up this morning. I'm just like, what the fuck? And I go, because some people will be like, oh man, I can't draw that well, whatever. I look at it, I go, I can't draw that well, but like, fuck, I'm now energized. Let me go edit a podcast. Let me go do something.
Yeah. I've been working on quite a bit of stuff lately in the graphics department, between the t-shirts and everything. And I'm no artist. I can't sit down and put pen to paper, but like I could put a bunch of shapes on the screen and then trim parts of those shapes, and then it eventually looks like something.
That's art. That's a graphic artist.
Yeah, it's weird to me, like, because I'm like, man, it's like, because like I said, I can't draw. My handwriting is even crap. Like my 8-year-old's closing in on me on handwriting. Like it's not a good thing. But I've enjoyed putting this together. So yeah, like you said, and I'm glad that, you know, you recognize it's not just like, oh, I need some attention. Like I do put a lot into it, but it's been a lot of learning. And I mean, I guess the ultimate thing is like the body only lasts so long. I'd love to promote one day. So like, yeah, well, I don't do it for attention. I do a all out for the sense that when that time comes, people go, oh, Skillz is throwing a show. He's going to, you know, at least we know it's going to have this, it's going to have that. Like, you know, if it's going to be the same quality he's done the last project, then it's going to be, you know, something to be good and be a part of. So it's all practice for next steps.
Everything is, because even if you pivot out of this and go towards something else, like for instance, how you said promoting, everything is like, and I've realized this I've learned a lot of shit along the way that I didn't like prepare to learn or be able to use. And then fast forward to now, like I did a fucking crowdfunding last year that was successful, and it was the first time I ever did it, but like I've watched people do it. With Patreon, it wasn't a new thing for me. I was going to launch it in December 2019. I'm really happy I didn't, because one of the tiers was going to include live tickets, and then 2020 happened. But right? I'm on other people's Patreons. I'm a fan of people that have it versus because I could kind of tell like you went balls deep into this, so like you've read and heard stuff of like, you know, how to make money off podcasting in the future when you have that platform, you have that of like the revenue streams, where a lot of people will see, oh well, YouTubers make money, so I'm going to make YouTube videos, and then they give up after 3 episodes because they put 5 viewers each time, where dude, that's 5 people more than watching anyone that doesn't put up stuff. But also, do they have sponsorship deals? Are they selling merch? Are they doing all this? It's not just one thing anymore.
Yeah, for me, it's been the merch. I haven't done any kind of advertising or any of that. And like and like you said, people get discouraged when they have low views. And like but I mean, the media is spread out in different places. So like, there's a couple here, there's a couple there, and they all add up. And a lot of people give up and discount that stuff. But like, the biggest thing is like, never get into it thinking I'm gonna make a bunch of fucking money.
Well, especially like, I see that you have a great setup and stuff. And I was talking to this with one of my friends outside of wrestling, who he's one of the most creative people I've ever met in my life, but he's never stuck with it long enough. And I've now realized like, wrestling taught me whatever you put in, you'll get out of it. And if you work hard and you show up, it'll pay off eventually. And with content, if you put up an episode every week on the same time, the viewers will start coming because they're used to that content. And I was telling him though, of especially for content creators, fans want to grow with you. They want you to start with a low setup and then, oh, I now know how to do these graphics. So every step just gets better and better. That even like for me personally, the quality isn't the best in it, but it's me bearing my soul, and you're seeing me become a better person each time. And explain that to him, and then him literally replying to me of, yeah, well, my goal is to get a roadcaster. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. It's like, that can all come along, but what you first got to do is you got to do it. You can't want to main event WrestleMania if you haven't stepped foot in a wrestling school. Like, there's levels to this, but the level 1 is walk before you run. And when people look up,
I'm knocking on some wood right here about that WrestleMania comment, because it might not be someone we know, but we might get that if we're not careful.
But like, for real, of when people say they take out a loan for, I need to get these specific microphones, this mixer, this program, this computer, and whatever, and they're starting at, say, negative $1,500. They're trying to go, how do I get this money back, versus I'm going to play with this. Like how you said, I'm learning this, I'm learning new skills, so I'll excel from there. Even right now, when you get booked on shows when wrestling comes back, you've cross-promoted your podcast enough. A, you have a new way to promote yourself. B, you know, okay, if I do this on Instagram, if I do this on Facebook, here are the groups to share it to. Because as wrestlers, how many times have you been at a pre-show meeting and sat there, and the promoter, whose job is literally to promote, says, you guys didn't promote the show enough?
No, and fuck all that. Like, that drives me up the wall. Like, there's the few guys that I have worked for, I like recently have done a good job promoting. Even that Wingham show we did, like their first show, I know they had other shows that weren't so bad, like I think they only had one other show.
Yeah,
where the
I
crowd
think
wasn't
they
so
did
big.
Wingham, Listowel, and then that Wingham show again. And
Yeah.
while driving to that Wingham show, you literally pass by like an Amish festival, some like car auction, like everything's going on in this Tri-County Mennonite area. That's like bad day to book the wrestling show.
Mm-hmm. But their first show even was pretty good. Like,
yeah, the first show was great.
Mm-hmm. But oh fuck, had a niche.
Oh no, I thought your carpet or something almost set on fire.
Oh no. Yeah, that show wasn't bad, but yeah, putting all the effort into it, and like you said, the promoters, sometimes they put it on us. And I mean, that should literally be their job. But I mean, it is good to have a few guys that can do that, and you do a good job at that, like with your stuff. I mean, so that's got to be real frustrating to sit through. Dude. And here's a promoter say you guys didn't do a good enough job when you're literally like, you're putting out murder mysteries promoting a wrestling show.
There was one show in particular, and like here, because I talked to Von Vertigo about this, another dude who's great with promoting stuff, and I brought this up to him that like, if a promoter says you guys didn't promote the show enough, tell the people who didn't promote the show enough, hey, you need to promote it more or I'm not gonna book you. Because as a booker, you get to choose who's in your locker room. You can't complain about someone being in there. And I was talking to him about there's a lot of times that we're lumped in everyone else where we did promote this a lot. And also, did the poster look good that I wanted to share it multiple times, or did it look like it was Microsoft Paint? And it's all those actually being critical. But there was one time in particular that a promoter was like chastising his roster for not promoting it enough. And I was doing like faction stuff. I wasn't a main character, but I was still, if I'm on this show, I'm promoting it my way. I'm doing a weird promo video. And I'm literally, how the chairs were set up, there's like chairs here and then a couple off to the side, and there was only 2 rows. So I was off to the side, and this promoter chastises his whole roster that he's had for 7 years, and he considers his best of friends, puts over one person, and I'm literally sitting there with my coffee in my hand going, oh, so this is what it looks like to be overlooked. Okay. And the thing is, though, I take those moments, and instead of bitching and moaning about it, I don't realize, but I use it for motivation. And that whole success being the best revenge, here's why, like, yes, on the surface level, you're successful. You don't have to worry about it. But on the fun level, these motherfuckers have to see your name everywhere. Yeah. And when they have a problem with you, guess what? You don't even know who's seen your name. And then they're just like, I fucking hate this guy. I blocked him on Twitter so I wouldn't see his shit. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy.
Yeah, you don't exist to me, but I definitely exist in your world now. And that probably really sucks.
Yes.
So speaking of that, for those that do exist in your Twitterverse, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Holden Pro. On Facebook, it's Holden Albright, but you can also add my personal account. Social media is all bullshit. I don't treat, some people use social media like it's their diary. I treat it, all the positive stuff I post, I'm literally talking to myself in the future. Because we talked about those Facebook memories. There's times where you see some patterns where I'm going to look back at this and go, shit, I was complaining about the same thing 2 years ago or whatever. Okay, whatever. That's my reminder. That song FDB.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yep, don't worry about that. Out of my mind. And it's little things like that. But also, if you want a whole bunch of a shit ton of content for as low as $7 a month, you'll get, I believe I just wrote down actually like how many things are in the archive, and you get at least 22 episodes of me and Kobe Durst getting high and watching AEW. It's a nice, easy 30-minute podcast. There will never be a preview of Tiger and the Wolf, which is mine and Kobe's podcast, because there's a paywall for a reason. It is locker room and car talk, shit talk in the best way possible. And it's just, and also for that $7 a month, you get to have a live call-in Zoom chat with a bunch of different guys. There might be some shirtless guys showing off their tattoos. That happened last week. And Kobe Durst is just going to make fun of everyone because that's just what he does. But also, we do a bunch of conspiracy shit on there. We do a bunch of Zoom hangouts. And, like, if we can't be together for wrestling shows, and what I realized was, as wrestlers, we missed wrestling and performing. But the fans, some of them only got to see their friends once or 4 times a month for the different shows they travel to. And like some of these guys, Tommy Richardson, James Weber, they all travel like motherfuckers. And now with the Zoom hangouts and stuff, in January, we watched Royal Rumble 2000. We watched WrestleMania 17 a couple months ago. And it's just seeing the joy, everyone shit talking. And
that's amazing though. Like that's the one thing we've benefited from all of this is we've learned new ways to connect. And I hope like it's never going to be a replacement for what we want, but I hope when we get back together like that, we still do this in between.
Yes. It's as long as we keep that going, it's the same as holding people accountable of after pandemic. We have to see what we enjoyed and liked from this time that we can keep it going forward to enjoy our time to ourselves and with this content. But you can get a preview of our Zoom shit talking because we watched the Ironman match. We kind of did a watch along on Instagram Live, and my favorite moment in it is actually I brought up James Weber. He imitated Jason Mitchell, who I shouted out earlier, because Jason, the last one, he had shrooms, so he got too hallucinogenic, but he'll normally have too many edibles, and he'll start like falling into his chair.
Yeah.
His chair is camo, and sometimes he wears camo, and we got to do like little wellness checks on his little cube. And I'll be like, Gimpy, you good? And he's like, yeah. But in the fucking hangout, 3 of the patrons, because also with that, you get to be in the open lines for my Instagram Live. All 3 of them had different impressions of Gimpy being fucked up. And James Weber's, there would be a clip on my Instagram of he goes, yeah, you just look over at Gimpy. And he's just like this. And I died of laughter. He looked like he's seized up. And then Daniel's son had an imitation of him being on hallucinogens, reaching for the camera. And then Uncle Bobby B was just like, yeah. And then he's shirtless because there's no reason that man should not wear a shirt. And he was just, he went from, this was the progression of the Zoom calls with Gimpy. I'm sorry, I love this guy. He is a character. He's one of my favorite people and such a good supporter of, on one Zoom call in the middle of it, it's hot. So he took his shirt off. And he private messaged me afterwards going, hey, I'm sorry if I made it inappropriate. It wasn't inappropriate. He's a bigger dude, but he's got no man titties. I don't understand the science.
Anomaly.
But, yeah, like big ass beer gut and then flat chested like a fucking 10-year-old boy. And it's literally, he apologizes, and then the next Zoom call, and I couldn't see him immediately, he started with no shirt on. He went from apologizing for taking his shirt off to just not having shirt on.
Yeah, it's my thing now.
You gotta keep underwear on and don't let that camera go south. That's the only like rule. You don't need a shirt, but like you keep the pants on, please.
All right, well, I'm gonna hit you guys with the plugs because we are getting about that time. You can catch me at PD Skillz Show, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. You see the beautiful shirts down below here. Yeah. Pick one of those up. It's a big help, and I appreciate it. And speaking of appreciation, thank you, Holden Albright, for coming to the PD Skillz Show.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, been a fucking great chat. And I hope to have you again when I start hitting round 2, because I'm hoping that before soon we all have lots of new stories to tell and new things to be excited about.
I hope we can have like a little smoke session where people are going to do some dumb stuff for $1 and it'll be very enjoyable.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of doing dumb stuff for minimal dollars, you can also hit me up at onlyslams.ca. You got a birthday coming up. You got a boyfriend you need, me to break up with, or, maybe you just need someone to talk to your grandma for you. I'm here. Onlyslams.ca. This has been another episode of the PD Skillz Show. I'm PD Skillz. This is Holden Albright. I'll catch you next week. We out.
Peace.